Good evening, everyone. This is Mary Esther Miranda-Gilbert, founder of the True Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. And those who haven't been here before, welcome, welcome, welcome returning YouTube subscribers. Always happy to have you here with me. So tonight I'm going to be going over the various types of protein powders and what to look out for as far as avoiding any toxic ingredients that companies are putting into their protein powders, which are countering the excellent health effects that protein powders can have. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and share the information that I have. Let me just share. All righty, here we go. Okay, so today's topic is I'm going to show you surprising new ways to use whey protein for the holidays and beyond after the holidays. I'm going to show you how protein powders and collagen powders can boost your energy levels just naturally, avoiding the high sugars and high sugar highs and lows that occur during holiday seasons, right? You just can't help it. Everyone's cooking up and baking up all kinds of goodies, and it's really difficult to stay away from all of it. People gain a lot of weight during the holidays, but also people have, you know, episodes like diabetes or heart problems, things like that. So during the holidays is a very dangerous season for those who have health issues like that. So a protein powder can really help as far as providing the right counterbalancing nutrients that can avoid episodes like that. And if you make it a habit of including these types of supplements in your daily diet, then you will always have the extra protein in your body to help with all kinds of systemic and biochemical processes that the body needs to do every single day in order to keep you alive and thriving. So one of the things that I'll be discussing about these powders is that you can actually recuperate faster from injuries. You heal more rapidly. There's always the basic components for cellular repair and cellular replication, regeneration, continuing on, producing new cells in the body. And also, it has so many great things to offer for the immune system and controlling inflammation. I'll go over the differences between the plant proteins and the whey protein and the collagen powders, and of course the toxic ingredients to avoid and what those ingredients have been shown to how they have adverse effects on your health. So, it's all about informed choices. That's what I like to present every single week to my viewers and my Institute members so that you'll always be aware of all of the toxic ingredients in just about everything out there, whether it's a food item or not, whether it's a supplement or any kind of body care product or cosmetic. We have to stop funding the corporations that don't care about your health. They only care about profits, obviously, because they keep putting in these toxic ingredients. And meanwhile, these heroic groups of responsible scientists are always in the background testing these different types of toxins. Of course, now it's been many years since all of these toxins have been studied, and it's been determined that many of them are extremely hazardous to your health. So yeah, I mean, all the videos that I've been producing on my channel since last April are especially covering the toxins that people need to stay away from and are actually impacting their health more than one might think. Okay, so let's start with whey protein. What is whey exactly? So it's the byproduct of cheese making, where the high protein, thin, watery liquid or the whey is separated from the solids. So they make the cheese and then they keep the whey and they market the whey that in many types of supplements. So after they pasteurize or heat process the whey to kill the bacteria that's always present, in animal-derived foods, so it has to be pasteurized. Then the whey is dried into whey powder, and that is actually the purest form of only protein, isolated protein in any kind of supplement on the market. So if you want a pure protein, then the whey protein is the one that you want to select. So let's go into the differences between the whey protein. So we have a whey concentrate and we have a whey isolate powder. So the whey protein isolate, it's the purest form of complete protein, exclusively protein. The fat and the lactose, or the milk, sugar, milk, carbohydrate content in the whey is removed from the whey, leaving mainly the protein. So that's why they call it isolate. So they isolate the protein and they take out the carbohydrates and the fats from the product. So the whey protein isolate contains 90% or higher of protein concentrations. And like I said, it's the purest protein source available. And it's actually safe for those who are lactose intolerant because they take the lactose out. They take the milk, sugar, milk carbohydrate out. And those who are lactose intolerant have really a hard time digesting the milk sugar and the milk fats. Okay, so now the whey protein concentrate, now that's where the water, or the content of the whey, the lactose, the milk sugar, and the minerals are removed. But the natural balance of the protein, carbohydrate, and milk fat is retained. So people who are on a weight gain program, and they, they're watching their calories. They don't want to gain too much weight and become overweight. But those who need to gain weight, or those who want to build muscle, those who are in athletics and are in endurance sports, then they probably want the whey protein concentrate. They can choose the whey protein isolate as well, but they have to add in the other nutrients so that they can build the endurance and the muscle capacity, So the whey protein concentrate serves a slightly different purpose, but in the end, what you add into these protein powders is what makes up a complete nourishing meal, right? So both forms of whey protein are beneficial for building and maintaining muscles. They prevent the loss of lean body mass. Those of you who try to diet and end up losing a lot of water weight and a lot of valuable, muscle and a lot of other body proteins, like your other tissues, you're not going to lose the fat, right? So what happens here is you want to prevent that from happening, and you don't want to get into what's called a negative nitrogen balance. When your body is breaking down its own protein, valuable, healthy protein tissues, in order to convert it to glucose, which is what fuels every one of your cells, including the brain cells. So that's, the process of ketosis. So you don't want to get into that negative nitrogen balance state when you're trying to build, a healthy body. Also, both forms are great for healing more rapidly because they provide the essential amino acids, which are the fundamental molecules that the body uses to rebuild itself, rebuild new body proteins. And it has a low calorie energy value, so you don't have to worry about putting on a lot of weight, just with the whey protein. They don't have a lot of calories. As far as gaining weight, you want to build lean muscle mass and not body fat. So we need a certain amount of body fat that's a healthy amount, but we don't want to have excess body fat, which contributes to many different types of health problems. Okay, so now here is a chart, energy nutrient comparisons. So they're comparing the whey protein concentrate and the whey protein isolate. So as you can see, the concentrate has 25 to 89 grams of protein, whereas the whey isolate has 90 plus grams of protein in it. So it has more protein in it. Depends on the product, right? So lactose, the milk sugar, the milk carbohydrate, the whey protein concentrate has anywhere from 10 to 55 grams of carbohydrates. And the whey isolate has hardly any, not even 1 gram of carbohydrate in it. The milk fat has 2 to 10 grams of fat in it, and the whey protein has less than 1 gram of fat. That's like 50 calories. It's negligible, you know. So that's the differences between the concentrate and the isolate. So let's talk a little bit about branched chain amino acids. That's floating around out there on the internet. People are selling supplements. People are buying these things, especially in the sports world. They have found that they contribute to be able to build muscle, build endurance, things like that. So a lot of protein powders contain these added branched chain amino acids, and I'll tell you what they are. So they're important for muscle tissue protein synthesis, you know, generating new muscle tissue and maintaining muscle metabolism, how efficient the muscles are in using energy and nutrients. So they're the vital, essential, foundational building blocks in muscle growth and tissue. So studies show that BCAAs may prevent muscle breakdown that normally occurs during exercise. So as you're exercising, you're obviously tearing down the nutrients, utilizing the nutrients in order to produce the power to do the muscle work, the exercise, the physical challenge that exercise is to many people who are more and more fit, right? So the studies show that BCAAs will prevent that breakdown. So they provide the essential amino acids that will contribute toward rebuilding new muscle tissue rather than tearing them down. So they also reduce muscle soreness and exercise fatigue. And so they give you more endurance while you're exercising. And then afterwards, you don't feel as wiped out, because anybody who's had a hard workout knows what it feels like to have finished the workout and they're tired, right? And they're feeling really like their blood sugar is low and their muscles are spent. And so they hurry home and have a healthy meal. They get their rest, they rehydrate, and then the body, after a couple of days, regenerates itself, recoups, you know, and stores new nutrients ready for that next physical challenge. The body's very anticipatory that way. So that's what's called progressive fitness, that you get strong. The more you do the exercise, the stronger you get and the more endurance you have. So yeah, the branched chain amino acids are very good for minimizing that deconstructing process and helping you maintain more of what you work so hard for. So they're also used as an energy source, especially during exercise, and they provide the essential building blocks for the immune cell development and their proper function. So they're aiding the functions of your immune cells, the cells that patrol the system and will destroy anything that doesn't belong in the body. So there's this battle going on. If you're exposed to bacteria or, you know, catch a cold and have a cold virus or things like that, you know, then then it's important to have a strong immune system to counter all of those, how fast they grow in the body and make you very ill, right? So the immune system is so important. The immune system also regulates whatever's going on. If there's injuries, even if it's at the micro cell level, if you have, you know, micro tears in your muscles, or your blood vessels are damaged, or, you know, something that's happening at the micro level, then the immune system has to be in there and trying to detect what kind of repair and regeneration has to be done in the body at that level. So the BCAAs are also known to help, you know, that healing process. Okay, so they provide the essential building blocks for immune cell development and their proper function. They make the immune cells smarter. Okay, and they've been extensively studied for many disorders concerning various body systems like liver cirrhosis, renal or kidney failure, sepsis, widespread infection causing organ damage, which is life-threatening, trauma, burn injuries, you know, cancer, hepatic encephalopathy. So, you know, when you've got the infections of the liver and that's affecting the nervous system and the brain, then you've got this infection going on. So the medical system has been utilizing branched chain amino acids for these purposes. And this is all based on the peer-reviewed scientific research that I do for these kinds of presentations that I do. So you can always be assured that everything I'm presenting to you is solidly backed by a responsible, very highly qualified individuals who review all of the scientific research that's done. And so they gather the best research, the most legitimate research, and then they present and summarize the information for you. And that's where I get the information for these presentations. So other health benefits of the branched chain amino acids are that they stimulate insulin production. Okay, there's this whole, I mean, this is very summarized and seems kind of simple, doesn't it? But what's going on at the microcell level is phenomenal. There are multiple trillions of processes going on in order to for instance, stimulate insulin production, aid in the recovery of what's called cachexia, muscle wasting, weakness after illness or injury, and to promote wound healing. So as you can see, I always cite the scientists, group of scientists right here. So at the end, you'll see the complete scientific reference citations. Also, they occur naturally in many protein-rich foods like meats, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy products. So it's always good to make sure you're having enough dietary protein from these food groups, not just rely on whey protein. As we go on, I'll show you why you should not treat whey protein as your only source of protein. So BCAAs are also in nuts and seeds. They're in grains, like quinoa, brown rice, corn, buckwheat, bulgur, which is the cracked wheat, millet, teff, couscous, which is made from semolina, which is derived from durum wheat. So they do occur in foods, but it's always great to have that extra boost in your whey supplements. Okay, so now let's switch to collagen powder. What's the difference? How is collagen powder different than the whey protein powders? Well, obviously, or maybe not so obviously to those of you who are new to this, collagen is made from the collagen of animals, the connective tissues. So that's how they derive the collagen. There's different types depending on what animal it came from, and what types of collagen also determines how it's used in the body. So I have another video out there here on this channel all about collagen. And so you can see the different kinds of collagen in there. But now the whey protein powders are made from milk, right? So that's the difference. One of them is from the connective tissues in the animals, and the other one is from the animal milks. All right, so collagen powders are composed of chains of amino acids known as peptides and are incomplete proteins. Collagen powders generally lack the essential amino acid tryptophan. So there's 9 essential amino acids that the body cannot make. And for some reason, collagen does not have the tryptophan, which is one of those 9. So I'm enlarging these photos so you can see how this is a reversible process. So in this image, they show the amino acids having been already broken down by digestion. And so the body is in the process of building new proteins. So from the amino acids, the fundamental building blocks of proteins in the body are the peptides. So they're like chains of these amino acids that form. And from these peptides, the body produces these complex molecules of complete proteins. So these contain all of the essential amino acids that we cannot manufacture on ourselves, and we must get it from animal-derived sources, whether it's collagen, whey, or any of the meats and things like that. Okay, so when the body needs to break down proteins, then it's going to go in reverse, right? When you're digesting these meats or any of these animal-derived protein foods, then your body's going to digest or break apart these dense molecules that kind of fold into themselves. They're all very unique in the type of protein they are. And so our cells recognize these proteins and are able to utilize them and relate to them, very easily. But if we are to break down the food we eat, then those proteins get broken down to peptides, which do not contain all of those essential amino acids. They contain some of them. So they're broken into different types of peptides, and they all have their variations of their amino acids. And then it's further broken down, if necessary, into the fundamental amino acids. So at this point, at the amino acid level, we can build new DNA, we can build new cells in every single area of the body, which is muscle cells, brain cells, blood cells, all these tissues that the body has. So the body's capable of rebuilding new so that we can perpetuate and keep on generating new cells when the old cells die off, right? So we constantly have to replenish and replicate ourselves really at the cell level. So that's what's happening here. So here's a computerized rendition of what it might actually look like in the body. So as you can see, this floor right here is actually the cell membrane. So we have cells and we have membranes on these cells, and on these membranes sit all of these different types of proteins and detection sites where they determine what can be allowed inside the cell. So at the top here is the outside of the cell, and below the cell membrane here is what's happening inside each one of our trillions of cells. So we're always utilizing proteins. As you can see, the little yellow clumps here are depicted as peptides, right? And these are different proteins that are arriving at the cell membrane. And notice how they're locking on to the proteins that sit on the cell membranes. So it has to match. There has to be like a puzzle piece that fits perfectly together that allows the proteins to be allowed inside of the cell. So here's a process of a protein being allowed inside of this cell that's doing the work to keep us alive, right? So yeah, I just thought I would show you a couple of basic photographs as to what really goes on when we digest proteins and why it's so important to have animal-derived proteins, because plants have some of these amino acids and they have some of these peptides, but not all plants have all of the 9 essential amino acids the body cannot make on its own. And so we need those amino acids to make the other 11. And they're not called essential because we can make those other 11 amino acids if we have those 9 from our foods. So you can imagine what kind of protein deficiencies that might happen at the microcell level when the body cannot do its work to keep you perpetually going, alive, and well. So peptides are incomplete proteins because they're missing one or more of the 9 essential amino acids the body cannot produce on its own. So here are the 9 essential amino acids: threonine, valine, tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, methionine, and histidine. Now, an older person can produce histidine from the other amino acids, but an infant or a young child cannot produce histidine, so they do need it from their diet. So these are the essential amino acids that generally the body cannot make. Okay, so because peptides are smaller than whole proteins, they can be broken down and absorbed by the body more quickly. So you have a complete protein from the whey, right, in these products, and the collagen, except for the tryptophan that's missing in the collagen. So you have pretty much a complete protein there. But the body's going to break them down into peptides. So as these peptides, as these proteins disperse into different peptides, then they're going to be used for different cellular functions because the body can choose which amino acids it needs at any given moment. Okay, so if you're protein deficient, if you're chronically protein deficient, then that given moment that's so critical for forming something new in the body, perpetuating your aliveness, if something is missing, that process will come to a halt. So there are multiple trillions of processes going on in the body. And if you are protein deficient, a lot of those processes are going to be halting, coming to a stop, and the body will go on to do something of a higher, hierarchy, like maintaining the brain, and the kidneys and the liver and things like that. But all these other processes that are necessary, but not necessarily life-threatening, can cause deficiencies. And over time, it can cause a degenerative condition where you're just breaking down your own body proteins and your body's trying to utilize those proteins to keep you healthy, but you're going to have more fatigue. You're going to not be able to function in so many ways, including thinking and just being able to handle stress, because your body will be in an inflammatory state and it will not have the energy that it needs to do all of these processes to keep you alive and thriving and active and, just fully alert and awake and energetic, right? So, yeah, they in the process of breaking down your foods, then you're going to be breaking down these proteins into smaller peptides that it can be used in any number of ways. And the body's smart. If it thinks it needs just a few amino acids on their own, it's going to use those to rebuild something. If it knows that it can utilize the peptides that are in these broken down animal-derived proteins from digestion, then it's going to use the peptides. So these peptides are pretty important because it can pick and choose what it needs very quickly. Okay, so these are some of the cellular functions that are used in collagen peptides. So they're used for these various body systems. They're known to support skin health, joint function, and a healthy gut environment. That gut environment is very, very important. When combined with complete protein sources, peptides can aid the body's countless tasks involving the use of essential amino acids to perpetuate healthy cells, tissues, structures, and even enzymes and hormones. Those are proteins also that the body needs to make. So there's different kinds of proteins that we need to make, not just our complete cells and tissues, right? So we have all of these structures, like the cell structures themselves at that micro level. They require a structure, and of course, our bones are structures, and our ribs and our cartilage. Those are all structures, and it requires these proteins to keep rebuilding them and replenishing them. And also, the body has to make enzymes. We need enzymes from our diet, and from those enzymes from our foods. The raw foods contain the enzymes. If you cook the foods, then the enzymes are destroyed. So we need a lot of raw foods in addition to the animal proteins. So when you have these enzymes in your diet, then your body can rearrange those molecules and manufacture the enzymes that it needs to digest foods, to carry out all of these biochemical processes that keep us alive and thriving, and also to form the 10,000 hormones the body uses. It's not just about reproductive hormones, it's about the hormones that patrol and work with the nervous system. So these nerve transmissions of communication work with the hormones that start and stop all these trillions of processes. They all work together, and the immune system gets involved as well. So they all have to communicate. So it's very important to have these enzymes and hormones working in the body. And so many other proteins. There's signaling proteins, inflammatory proteins, and anti-inflammatory proteins. The body's constantly balancing everything. So growing research shows increasing interest on peptides as therapeutic measures for various disorders like autoimmune diseases, diabetes, cancer, mental disorders, hypertension, cardiovascular and metabolic diseases as mediators for nerve signal transduction, heart rate regulation. So it acts on the electrical system in the body as well. So scientists have been very, very busy at work showing how the peptides from our foods and from supplements like the whey and the collagens can actually aid in what medicine can do for these conditions. So peptides play crucial roles in various biological processes like the hormones and, like I said, the neurotransmitters, the cells that transmit electrical impulse signals to the whole entire body to alert the body as to what's going on and how it's going to react, and enzymes. And also, has been shown to help the body produce insulin and glucagon. These are the hormones that regulate your blood sugar levels. So it aids in those production and aids in their function. So insulin gets secreted by the pancreas when you're low on blood sugar. And then glucagon, when you're high on blood sugar, and it takes that excess sugar out of the blood. So it's like a carrier helping to take that excess blood sugar out of the bloodstream. And glucagon is when you are low in blood sugar. So the pancreas detects a low blood sugar condition, and so it will secrete glucagon to help the body bring blood sugar back to your brain and to fuel your cells that are circulating nutrients throughout the system throughout the blood. All right, so also they play crucial roles for acting like endorphins or natural painkillers. So the peptides will also produce the proteins that the body needs. Endorphins are proteins as well. And so when the body detects that it needs a painkiller, it will go ahead and produce what it needs to tone down the pain. And meanwhile, it's healing the root cause of the pain. So protein is very important for regenerating and repairing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about synthetic ingredients to avoid in protein powder choices. So there are different types of synthetic ingredients versus natural ingredients in protein powder choices. So I'm going to be reviewing a little bit about that. So we've got synthetic versus plant-derived natural vitamins that are sometimes put in these formulations. Now, according to the United States Pharmacopoeia, synthetic vitamins are synthesized or created, chemical isolates that do not necessarily originate primarily in plant tissues. Okay, so we've got to know the difference between the synthetics and the natural, truly natural, because that's an ambiguous term. Companies have bandied the word natural about, and when things are not natural at all. So the real definition of natural is when it's derived primarily from a natural source, a plant tissue, for instance. So nor have all synthetic vitamins been proven to safely and fully replace all natural vitamin activities. Okay, so the plant-derived complex vitamins and minerals that come from plants are so much more complex than the synthetic derived vitamins and elemental minerals are. So even though there's a lot of literature out there that will tell you they're the same exact thing, they do the exact same thing in the body, it's not true. The science shows that there's more to these plant-derived nutrients than meets the eye. When you look at the subatomic, subquantum energy level frequencies of these living tissue plants, they're going to have a completely different and much better effect on our own living tissues. Okay, because if it's a synthetic one, then that's a very poor rendition. The molecular structures might look similar, the skeletal structures might look similar, but their holographic, multidimensional aspects of them are just non-existent. The body has to find a way to try to utilize. The body's very frugal. It tries its best to utilize things like this, but it's not going to easily apply them to its own regenerative, repairing, maintenance capacity. So the United States Pharmacopoeia vitamins are not considered to be food, according to the scientists, in spite of being called natural. In nature, vitamins are never isolated. Now, that's a very good point. This is exactly why I never have people take individual vitamins or individual minerals for that very reason. It has to come from a whole plant source. So clinical research data shows the differences between authentic natural vitamins and synthetic ones, and that vitamins in a food complex are superior to USP isolated ones. So there you go. I feel vindicated. In all these years, I have been just standing this position and maintaining it. And it's nice to know that finally, the research is confirming it a lot more often. So now nutrition scientists understand that there are multiple mechanisms that determine the absorption and utilization of vitamin complexes in the body's cells. So as I said, it's much more complex than people might imagine, something we cannot see with, at our level. So we have to develop the technologies if they don't already exist there and just haven't been disclosed to us. We have to examine exactly what's going on at that micro subatomic level. So it has to do with particle size, synergistic interactions with each other. That's that kind of communication that just doesn't happen with synthetics. So also the biocompatibility in their physiochemical form. So most USP synthetic vitamins are of crystalline structures. They're inert. Whole food vitamin complexes are not. They're are present in a dynamic complex of carbohydrate, protein, and lipid molecules that are thriving and alive and pulsating with life, literally. Scientists are beginning to understand the many factors required for nutrient absorption and utilization and expect to discover additional facts that further distinguish food nutrients from synthetic ones. So, like I said, at the end of this document, I list all of the scientific references so that people can feel free to explore what these scientists have reported. So here's a list of synthetic B vitamins. There's a lot of confusion as to what types of forms these vitamins are. And you'll see a lot of these names on vitamin bottles. But these are just the synthetic versions. And of course, they're all going to be B1, B2, B3, and, the B designations. But the name of the molecules here in front of those parentheses, that's going to show you whether they are synthetic or not. So the superior bioavailability of food-derived essential B complex vitamins, their vital roles in human health, are only generated by plants, yeast, and bacteria. So those are the true, natural, bioavailable, very absorbable and utilizable in the body type of B complex. And every single individual complex within a plant complex are actual complexes in itself. So you've got complexes within complexes, molecularly speaking. So they cannot be created by mammals. They must be acquired through dietary sources. And also bacteria live on and in the body without causing harm and provide functional benefits. So these beneficial bacteria are nourished by these B complex vitamins, not the synthetics. Okay. So what they do is the bacteria that thrive, the aerobic, oxygen-loving, beneficial bacteria that we have to maintain populations of in our gut or colon, they actually aid digestion and they create a protective environment against these illness-causing or pathogenic organisms. And so immunity and the gut health environment, it has to be maintained in order to have a strong immunity, and the communications that are established between these beneficial bacteria and the brain can affect so many things like behavior, thinking, learning, discernment and cognition, all of these things that make us nice people, right? They regulate moods, so they impact the hormones that impact our moods, things like that. So we have to have a healthy gut environment as well. All right, so vitamins, the real, vitamins will actually aid in that to a great extent. So also disrupted beneficial aerobic gut bacteria affects B vitamin usage. So if we don't have the beneficial bacteria in the gut, then we won't be able to utilize the B complex as much as if we maintained a healthy gut environment. Okay, so deficient environment affects immune cell functions, such as maintaining a healthy balance between active and suppressive immune responses. So your immune system is constantly trying to determine, do I need to send in a little bit of inflammation into the area to help with the healing process, or do I pull back on the inflammatory responses so that the injury can continue to be healed? So there's a balance there that the immune system has to be able to detect. And so a highly nourished environment, especially in the gut, is extremely important for helping the immune system make that determination. So avoiding deficiencies leading to infections, allergies, and inflammation. So that's another thing, that happens when you have the natural B complex in the body. You are going to have a better immune system that's not going to react inappropriately to allergies, and inflammation. Sometimes the body will continue on with inflammation indefinitely, and that means that the body's undernourished, including the B vitamins or the minerals or both, and not enough protein in the diet, not enough raw food enzymes, which from the plant kingdom has those detoxifying, cleansing, and regulating type of attributes that our wonderful plant kingdom offers for our health. So all that has to be in the body. We have to provide the body with exactly what it needs in order to have a better immune system so that you can take care of infections, and you can not have to have allergies or be allergic to something, and not have to be in a state of inflammation. So B complex vitamins, they're in our foods as well. They're in the pork, the chicken, the red meats. You don't want to char any of these foods. They do produce cancer-causing compounds. So you want to simmer and cook them at low heat so that you retain as many of the B complex vitamins as possible. And eggs, of course, too. You don't want to overboil them. Always cook them at low temperatures. And eggs over easy or soft-boiled eggs are the best because they do retain a lot of those vitamins. Cereal sprouts, like also rice bran, the bran of certain types of grains are going to contain these B complex. So you have to be very careful because B complex vitamins are destroyed through excess heat. Okay, so and beans also. Beans are excellent for retaining those B vitamins. And so again, you don't want to boil everything to death or char everything to death. You want to try to preserve as many of these nutrients as possible. And that's where the whey proteins, come in, because many companies will put in the the extra B vitamins that are the natural B vitamins. So any product that puts in the synthetics, I do not recommend. Here they are again. So if you see any of these synthetic vitamins in there, then you're not going to get the full benefit of the whole complexities of the entire complex and how it acts on the body. Same thing for minerals, so if you have plant protein powder, then plants do not contain all of the essential amino acids in one place. And those that do, they never have enough. They're inadequate amounts. And an animal-derived protein will have so much more than just the amino acids to offer you. The most absorbable form of iron, the natural B complexes. And if the animal is raised in a very nutrient-rich environment, then they're going to be also high in minerals, especially in their bone complexes. So you can make your own wonderful bone broths or cook the meats with the bones in them, in many dishes. So minerals are extremely important for your health. I do have another video on this channel, if you haven't seen it already, on both vitamins, and another separate video on minerals. So if you're unfamiliar with what these wonderful essential nutrients that we cannot make ourselves, you can watch these videos and learn a lot about what these nutrients do. So we definitely need vitamins and minerals and proteins and the right fats and the right carbohydrates. So there's a video for every one of these items that I just mentioned on this channel. So you get a whole education on, what you should be putting in your body and what to avoid. So if you want to avoid poor health, if you want to have more energy levels, if you want to look younger and have more energy and experience life through a much higher perspective, then please watch the videos on this channel. All right, so now sweeteners. Oh my goodness, so many companies add these sweeteners. Now I'm going to go over some basic sweeteners that are on the market out there. Let's go into it then. All right, so maltodextrins. This is a class of complex carbohydrates. They're readily metabolized to glucose in the intestinal tract, so your body can break them down. In a dose-dependent manner, they're found to exacerbate intestinal inflammation, and this is where the scientists come in. They will test a substance, and they will take it to the limit and just see what it does to the laboratory animals. I don't personally agree with causing animals to suffer like that just so that they can prove one way or the other whether substance is safe or not. But unfortunately, that's how we get a lot of our knowledge. So maltodextrins, and there are some human studies, but of course, they're not going to take them to the point of toxicity like that. But so there's a class of complex carbs, maltodextrins, and they're metabolized to glucose. They're broken down. The maltodextrins are a slightly more complex molecule than the glucose, which is the simplest sugar molecule in the body. So, it can get broken down in the intestinal tract. So in a dose-dependent manner, they're found to exacerbate intestinal inflammation linked to activation of endoplasmic reticulum stress. and altering the protective mucus layer in the intestines. The endoplasmic reticulum is the protein manufacturing sites within every one of our trillions of microcells. Okay, so that's one of the organelles that are functioning inside of our cells. So, they have found that the intestinal inflammation actually affects the endoplasmic reticulum in our cells. So it causes stress and alters the protective mucus layer in the intestines. So our intestines, because we secrete such powerful hydrochloric acid, which can dissolve metal, if it weren't for the protective mucus layer in the intestines, it would bore a hole right through our own intestines. So we have this wonderful thick mucus layer in the intestines that just prevents this very strong acid from destroying our intestines. But we need something that acidic, that powerful, to break down the foods that we eat into the smaller molecules so that they can be absorbed through our cell membranes. So this may lead to an increased glycemic load and therefore post-meal glycemia. Okay, so these scientists have shown that the maltodextrin can lead to high blood sugar levels, and yeah, so that's measurable, obviously. Okay, so now succinic acid, that's used in the body primarily in the cell's Krebs energy cycle that produces a unit of energy called ATP. So our cells are constantly producing this molecule that is actually like the gasoline of the cell, right? It just keeps our cells going. So our body's constantly producing the energy molecule of ATP. So the succinic acid is actually used in that cycle. Every time your body uses nutrients to produce that energy, then succinic acid is one of the components, one of that cascade reaction that leads toward producing that energy. Okay, so succinic acid is actually used in the body for as part of the energy production cycle. It acts as a signaling molecule. It says, okay, now here's the molecule, here's the atoms, here's the electrical impulses. This is what's got to happen next in order to produce that ATP. So succinic acid is important for, just letting the cells know what's happening and what step to do next in order to produce energy. It has roles in metabolism, antioxidant defense, and inflammation regulation. It can be derived from both petrochemical and bio-based sources. And herein lies the problem. Companies have figured out, the scientists who work for these companies who are producing these synthetic substances that are ending up in your foods. Now, when they're synthetic, when they're derived from petrochemical, that's the stuff that they make gasoline out of, right? So that is not conducive to a healthy cell, and it's not conducive to your health at all. Quite the contrary. So if a company is going to put succinic acid in their whey protein formulas, then let's hope it's going to be the natural derived one from plants and animal tissues. So something to look at when you're selecting your protein powders out there. If you see succinic acid, look for these names: butane/benzene, maleic acid anhydride, 1,4-butanediol, or ethylene glycol. Those are red flags. Those are immediate turnabouts. Put that back on the shelf. Do not buy it. Okay, these are known to be very hazardous to many different body systems. They are serious. These are serious ingredients that you definitely want to stay away from. All right, so now let's look at this succinic acid that's from plants and animal tissues. Okay, it's just naturally present in all living cells because they're always producing energy, right? So it can be produced through fermentation of plant biomass and sugars like glucose. And also they're found in amber, the fossilized tree resin, and it's extracted by distillation. So there's different ways to obtain succinic acid from natural sources, and it's found in broccoli, rhubarb, beets, asparagus, and cheese. So beware when you're seeing succinic acid as an ingredient in anything that you're buying. If you see these chemicals in it, then do not buy that product. All right, now the next one, erythritol. It's a sugar alcohol, common artificial sweetener. It occurs in small amounts in fruits and vegetables. It's generated inside of our cells in just normal metabolism, just one of the molecules from transitioning from one form to another, as our metabolism goes from one task to another. Erythritol is produced there. As a sweetener, its levels are 1,000 times greater than in foods and in the body. So that's where it becomes a little bit of a problem. Your body can handle micro amounts of nutrients, but when you have concentrations of something like that, it's going to throw everything off. Now, 1,000 times greater than what's natural in nature, that is going to be a problem for, the liver. For one thing, the liver gets very overwhelmed when you have too high of a concentration of any substance that doesn't occur in nature. And now we have a 2023 National Institutes of Health funded research studied the relationship between erythritol and heart attacks and stroke in over 1,000 individuals in over a 3-year period. So they did a study, 1,000 test subjects, human beings, and they found that there's a relationship between too much erythritol and heart attacks and stroke. Okay, and this is over a 3-year period. When you have a time frame like that, then you can really see the trends. It's much more accurate that way. So elevated levels of erythritol and other artificial sweeteners were found to be linked to cardiovascular events, a higher risk of cardiovascular events, including non-fatal heart attacks, strokes, and death. Okay, so too much of a good thing, too much of even a natural thing that's found in nature, if you're extracting it and concentrating it, it's going to have a very, very negative effect on your delicate biochemistry. So it's best to stick to whole foods. And, I have another video on this channel on the healthiest natural sweeteners. So why bother buying a product that has these artificial synthetic sweeteners in them when you can sweeten it yourself with your own very, very healthy natural sweeteners that are found in nature? Okay, so yeah, I have a video on that on this channel as well. So please view that. Okay, so see, if you watch my videos, then you'll become a nutritional expert. You'll know what to stay away from. You'll understand why you have to put the natural good things in your body, and you won't have any health issues. The body knows how to repair itself. It just needs all of the nutrients present so it can do the repair work and the regenerative work and make new cells. Drugs aren't nutrients. They have their place. However, nutrients are the key to rebuilding your cells, to returning them to optimal functioning. And when your cells at the micro level are optimally functioning, that means your tissues and your organs and your structures are optimally functioning, right? Because they're all composed of different types of cells. So that's the key to recovering your health and going on to live a very healthy, happy life, right? Because when you're elevated and your health is the best, then you're going to be up there. You're going to have this 40,000-foot view of everything, and just stay calmer and make better decisions and actually be smarter, because it works on the intelligence of your brain. All right, so that's a little tangent, and there's a video on this channel on this very subject. So please go over the videos that are here. They're so invaluable for you. So 2 more studies involving 3,000 people in the US and Europe produced the same conclusions, linking erythritol with cardiovascular events. Too much of a good thing, right? Researchers found that high levels of the sweetener remained elevated in the blood for several days, which triggered changes in the platelet functions that control blood clotting. So your body forms these little proteins called platelets when there's a damaged blood vessel, right, or any kind of injury. And if your immune system's working right and you've got plenty of dietary enzymes to help determine when to start breaking down those platelets, because you don't want to have any obstructions in the blood vessels, right? You don't want any damage inside the blood vessels, especially. So, that can cause heart attacks and strokes when you have blockages in the blood vessels like that. So, we definitely need to have all of the nutrient factors in place to handle the injuries quickly and efficiently without putting you in danger. Okay, so other researchers tested the clotting response to erythritol's presence in the blood in vivo, which means live test subjects, humans or animals, and in vitro, which means they grow cells in nutrition mediums in cell culture, like laboratory dishes, right? These little laboratory dishes, and they can keep cells alive by providing them with nutrients, or they can test just how many toxins these cells that they're keeping alive in these, laboratory dishes, and see how they react. So that's one step toward determining whether something can be toxic or dangerous to your health, when it's it's humane, to apply tests like this to human subjects. So apparently erythritol has been tested in live test subjects and also in the laboratory. So, they found that the clotting response was the same. So, whether they're in the laboratory and growing these cells, and it could be blood vessels or any kind of cells that are they extract from tissues, and keep thriving, keep growing them, and keep them replicating. Some of these types of cell cultures have been grown in laboratories for years and years. They continually, perpetuate these cell cultures like cancer cells. They can apply things and determine, whether these types of cells will be destroyed by something like a wonderful phytochemical compound in many botanicals, which I have researched and taught about and written about. I can tell you a little bit about all of that at the conclusion of this video. So, there's a lot of research that's been put into erythritol, right? And one by one, look at all of these citations. These are different groups of scientists that have verified the fact that too much erythritol leads to heart failure, cardiovascular problems, death in some cases, stroke, right? Heart disease. But there's one group that said there's no, but not with heart failure or diabetes. So that's one contradictory study. So we have to examine, how they arrived at their conclusions. So that's what's good about gathering as many different credible scientific studies that have been done on something and compare that to anything that might contradict it. And this has to be done over time. You can't just make a decision and a conclusion from one group of scientists' efforts. That's what peer-reviewed studies are for. They gather as many different scientific research studies in order to summarize what they have found. So, so just to read this final point, I don't know if I read that. Other researchers provided genetic evidence that erythritol is associated with increased risk of coronary heart disease, myocardial infarction, and stroke, but not with heart failure or diabetes. Okay, so there's a distinction there. All right, so now let's go ahead and go on with stevia. Now, I always advocate that people use only organic stevia because you saw the toxic synthetic ingredients, up above here from, let's see, what one was that? It was, I think I passed it here. Yeah, it was from the succinic acid, right? Used as a sweetener. But there's a lot of products that are stevia that have a lot of these toxic synthetic chemicals in them. Never buy that. Never put your health in danger. Like, these are serious problems, consequences when someone uses, especially stevia. Of course, they're going to sweeten a lot of their foods, right? A lot of their drinks with the stevia. So I don't really prefer personally the white extract, even the organic one, because that's just plain stevia, right? But I like the stevia leaf, and a lot of people don't like it because it has the whole plant, all the compounds that are in the whole leaf, and the powder that you buy is not white, it's green. It's a green powder. So I put that in all of my things that I like to sweeten, right? My yogurt or smoothies or my tea or whatever. Sometimes I don't use any sweetener at all, but when I do, I like to use the green stevia leaf powder, organic, of course. But people like the white extract, the white powder. So please do not buy anything other than organic stevia. That way you know for sure you don't have any dangerous synthetics in there. So, I mean, you can go to the store and look at the difference and you will be horrified, okay? So the two glycosides or the plant phytochemicals that are extracted from stevia is what companies use to make the white powder, right? So the stevioside and the rhabdoside A, those are the two glycosides or phytochemicals extracted from the stevia rhabdiana plant. Also, it contains diterpene glycosides, another kind of glycoside that cannot be broken down or absorbed in the digestive tract and therefore do not affect blood sugar levels. So it's a good, sweetener because it doesn't affect your blood sugar levels. It's actually 200 times sweeter than sugar, than the sucrose or the regular white sugar, and it's calorie free. A formal review of the scientific literature about the steviol glycosides, stevioside and rhabdoside A, showed all these beneficial activities. It's anti-diabetic, in other words, it helps your body, it doesn't affect your blood sugar levels, anti-hypertensive, it doesn't affect any increase in blood pressure, anti-inflammatory, it actually helps tone down any kind of inflammation in the body. Of course, one nutrient, one substance isn't going to be the be all and end all to be 100% effective, for any of these problems, but it's a great contributory toward reducing inflammation in the body. Antioxidant, it prevents the degeneration of your cells, so it keeps them, healthy and active and going. Anti-cancer. So apparently these two glycosides, now I know glycosides occur in many different plants, and I've done a lot of research on the thousands of phytochemical compounds in our plant kingdom. So I know that the glycosides have been found to actually have been able to help destroy cancer cells or have the cancer cell destroy itself. So, all these phytochemicals are wonderful they've already been shown over and over again for many years in the scientific arena, what these phytochemicals do. So the steviol glycosides have been shown to be anti-cancer. Anti-diarrheal. So apparently they work on the gut, right, and the digestive tract in order to regulate, either destroy organisms that cause diarrhea, or they regulate, that environment so that it stops any kind of diarrhea. Okay, so now let's go on to potassium asulfame, or asulfame K. So it's a widely accepted sugar substitute. Peer-reviewed studies and investigations reveal the effects on asulfame K on human health, and they found that it poses a risk-benefit ambiguity. All right, so there's a contradiction, as far as what science has found about the asulfame K. So, but yet there are so many concerns that have been growing of the effect that it has on the nerves and the endocrine or hormonal system. And some findings indicate some degree of neurotoxicity, so they will have a toxic effect on the nerve cells. So increasing evidence suggests a possible association between asulfame K, abbreviated ACK, consumption, and endocrine function. So there's so many things that mess with your nerves, mess with your hormones, cause toxicity, and just disrupt the functioning of so many systems, including the immune system. Now, those three systems are always, they always seem to be affected by all of these abnormal and toxic substances that just don't belong in the body. So the asulfame K potentially contributes to disruptions in insulin regulation and glucose homeostasis. Now it's messing with your blood sugar and how your body uses insulin and its ability to use insulin, possibly leading to metabolic syndrome, leading to overweight, obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer. Those are all considered part of the syndrome called metabolic syndrome. Also, it can affect the gastrointestinal, your intestines and your stomach, intolerance, impacting gut microbiota. We talked about the healthy gut environment, since it resists degradation in the digestive tract. Okay, so if it's not going to be broken down, then there's going to have some toxic and disruptive consequences in the digestive tract. It's also shown to disturb the gut microbiome, which is the good bacteria, the beneficial aerobic bacteria that's populated in the gut. And that's going to affect digestion and energy, their energy balance in your body. Healthy gut microbiome is critical for the immune system development and nerve regulation. Again, there's that gut microbiome that communicates with the brain and the nervous system. It affects the hormonal system and also the immune system. So we have a healthy gut microbiome disturbance is associated with inflammatory bowel disease. So anytime you have any kind of disturbance with the populations of the beneficial bacteria, it can lead to some inflammatory responses. Okay, so now it's also deemed as safe within government acceptable daily intake levels in spite of concrete evidence on its chronic and subchronic exposure. Its impacts on health still remains indeterminate. So it looks to me that I would not choose this because of the effects that scientists have found that it has on the digestive tract and the gut. But yet, there's always this cautionary counterbalancing effect that government often, Hi, Frank's phone. Can you please mute yourself? I'm going to mute you, okay? Because I can hear the background. Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, that's the problem with acesulfame K. So if there's any doubt whatsoever, and obviously there's more than just a doubt, look at all of these problems that the scientists have found. Okay, and these are two groups of scientists that I pulled this information from. Okay, so now sucralose, it's an artificial sweetener that's 600 times sweeter than sugar, made by chemically modifying table sugar. Table sugar is already a very refined product, lacking nutrients and very addictive. So it has a very depleting effect in the system. But when you derive, molecules from that already highly refined substance, and you call it sucralose, right? And it ends up being the sweet component in that sucrose or table sugar, then you're going to have a very, very highly concentrated, a very unnatural sweetener that's running around in the body, right, being circulated in the body. So that's going to trigger all kinds of inflammatory reactions. That's just way, way too much of an isolated isolated substance, and also very concentrated. So it's not a carbohydrate and has no caloric value. That is the marketing, song that they have out there for people. The FDA, the Scientific Committee on Food of the European Commission, and other food safety authorities around the world state that there are no exclusions or restrictions for vulnerable population groups, including pregnant women, nursing mothers, infants, children, elderly, persons with medical conditions, and patients taking multiple medications. Okay, so that doesn't mean anything to me because it just shows what the government has arrived at. Someone made the decision in those halls of government without consulting with the responsible scientific community that has actually produced very strong scientific evidence that sucralose may not be a good idea. Okay, so let's go on here. Some studies have raised concerns about its potential long-term health effects, which are still being investigated. Something that brings in reports of toxicity, these maybe doctors report, or someone has spread information or reported their adverse effects from using sucralose. So there's a lot of information there that they just don't mention here. But there are some scientific studies that are showing that it could be that it has some long-term health effects. And so those studies need to continue on so that there can be a much better conclusion. Human and rodent studies demonstrated that sucralose may alter glucose and the pancreatic hormone insulin and glucagon-like protein levels, which affected those with type 1 diabetes. Okay, so they have done human and rodent studies, showing how sucralose can alter your blood sugar and affect how your pancreas secretes hormones and regulates hormones, the insulin and glucagon. Okay, so That's messing with your blood sugar, okay? It has shown effects on faster intestinal glucose transport and other parameters involved in regulating body weight. So anytime there's blood sugar, irregulation, it's going to affect how your body utilizes fats because too much sugar in the bloodstream is converted to body fat. And so if you have a lot of sugar in your diet, even some of these artificial sweeteners, it sends the same kind of signals and causes your body to store more body fat and slow down its metabolism and all kinds of things, right? So it's been showed that an increased insulin secretion by the pancreas and altered sweet taste receptors in the brain's hypothalamus, how your brain detects sweet tastes, right? Cells have these receptors that will detect how sweet something is. And the hypothalamus gland is what coordinates some of that. So the hypothalamus gland coordinates both the autonomic nervous system, the automatic nervous system that responds to stimuli, and the activity of its pituitary gland, which controls body temperature, thirst, and hunger, and all these other homeostatic systems. And it's involved in sleep and emotional activity. So messing with the hypothalamus is a huge, there are a lot of different kinds of consequences that could occur. So also, the sucralose was shown to elevate blood glucose and insulin levels in a study of obese women at risk already for further weight gain and developing diabetes. Also, there's concerning effects on detoxification mechanisms of the body, how well our bodies get rid of toxins. So that was affected as well by the sucralose. Beneficial bacteria like the lactobacilli and the bifidobacteria, which you see in a lot of these, like yogurts and other beverages that contain the live cultures that are beneficial, these were adversely affected compared to tests on illness-causing or pathogenic bacteria like the enterobacteria. So the good bacteria has to always have a handle on the bad bacteria in the gut. And so the sucralose was shown to put the gut at a disadvantage in adversely affecting the balance of the good versus the bad in the gut. Reduction in fecal microflora was not completely reversible even 3 months after ceasing use of sucralose. So apparently the bad bacteria that likes to feed on our feces was not reduced even 3 months later after using sucralose. Imbalances and reductions of beneficial intestinal bacteria can lead to various conditions such as allergies, gastric cancer, Crohn's disease, obesity, and inflammatory bowel disease. Okay. Laboratory findings concluded the potential toxicity from habitual ingestion undergoes decomposition at temperatures used in baking and heating. Sucralose with glycerol, a type of sweetener, generated a potentially toxic class of compounds called chloropropanols. Okay, so the packages, the advertising always says, oh, you can use these artificial sweeteners in your baking and it's not, it's going to work just fine. But little do they know or are telling you that it generates a potentially toxic class of chemicals. Okay, so, and these chemicals are cancer causing, okay, or they have other adverse effects on different areas in the body. So these synthetic sweeteners do not belong in the body at all, as you can see. So here are the scientific references. Now, if you are a member, a True Health Mastery Institute member, then you have access to this PDF document and these live links. You can go and see what the scientists actually did. So I summarized all of this research for you here in this document and in this presentation. But if you are interested in just exploring what these amazing scientists have done and how they arrived at their conclusions, a lot of them are peer-reviewed studies by highly qualified individuals who gathered all of the most credible scientific studies and put them all in one report for you. So I love those. Those are really a lot easier to read. But the individual, experiments or work that scientists do to arrive at their individual conclusions on something, those are fascinating too, because they lay out exactly how they perform their scientific experiments and how they arrived at their conclusions. And they can get pretty technical, but it's pretty fascinating, if you skim through it and you see, you learn a lot about how the human body works, how living cells work, and how these nutrients or toxic substances affect the body. So the reference section is always here in every single presentation that I do. I constantly back myself up with the credible scientific research. So there's never any question. It's quite irrefutable. No one questions that, the legitimate scientific research. So I'd like to show you the books that I have written. If you haven't already seen them, those of you who are new to the channel, please like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. And if you love this information, you know someone who truly needs this information, this knowledge, then please share the video as well. This really puts this video in front of more people out there that are searching for information, that are actually dying out there. You know, they need this information. This is life-saving information. Please share this information in the way that is customary on YouTube and other channels. So liking it brings it to more people. It also helps me grow this channel so I can get more information out to the larger masses, right? I retired my individual nutritional consultation practice 15 years ago, because I knew that all those 40 some years, 30 some years that I was in practice helping people improve their health, it was on an individual basis, which was wonderful. You know, just I love working one-on-one with people. You develop a lifelong bond. I still keep in touch with so many of them. But also the masses, more people need to know this information. So I felt like I was holding back this information, this life-saving kind of information. So that's why I started my institute, the True Health Master Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. And so you have access to information that is just not being put out there to the public. So that's why I started this institute, and also why I wrote these books. And they're not redundant. You know, sometimes authors will, I guess, write books that are kind of redundant, but these are all very, very necessary for your nutritional health education and management in order to thrive and get well and no longer suffer unnecessarily with what's usually nutrient deficiencies, right? Breaking down the body, and so it can't function optimally, getting into that downward spiral of the disease process. So the body needs these nutrients in order to just to come alive again, to regenerate itself, to make sure it's functioning properly the way it should be, the way you were meant to be. Okay, so nutritional synergy is my system here that I have created many years ago, and my clients over the years have gotten well just by making the food selections that are in my food system. So selecting foods for my system automatically makes you completely and optimally nourished. And so you should see what the body does when you're completely and optimally nourished. All right, so that's what that book is about. And the potent superfoods for lifelong true health, there's 109 botanicals that I have researched and compiled using the credible scientific research. So every single botanical in this book has a whole list of the health attributes that these botanicals have. And so you'll learn a lot about how the body utilizes the nutrients from these different botanicals. So there's 109 botanicals. It's over 500 pages long. Actually, I think it's 600 pages long for this book. So this version of this book, there's other versions that I've done for other companies, right? Whose ingredients are, the salespeople need to know what these products do. Some of these companies have very wonderful products. So I've written, you know, a version of this book for them. But this one has an additional 60 or so botanicals that I added to this so that the public can benefit. And there are going to be second edition and third edition coming out of this very same volume in the future. So this is kind of the first edition or the first volume. So we'll have volume 2 and volume 3, because I have a whole list of other botanicals that I will be researching and compiling for this format in this book. So you have what's called a scientific monograph for every one of these individual botanicals, so that you can become your own nutritional healing expert, so that you can utilize and apply all of this information in these 2 books that I've mentioned so far. Is what everyone should have in their home library. And these are reference books you can refer to over and over again and truly get to know how your body works and how it can utilize these amazing botanicals that are on this planet. So those of you who want to lose weight, or those of you who want energy for your exercise workouts, and it's created for the beginner all the way to the advanced athlete, because the body reacts the same to the same nutrients. So I wrote Eating for Physical Power and Stamina for that purpose. And of course, I do cover, some of the aspects of my nutritional synergy system in that book. So you can have if you buy only that book, then you'll still have a taste of some of the food groups that are in the system, but not as elaborately laid out like in the nutritional synergy book. So the True Health Mastery book I wrote years ago was actually the first book I ever wrote. And I just wanted to introduce people to what it means to be truly healthy by nourishing their body completely and correctly. So there is aspects of the nutritional synergy system in there, but mostly it prepares people. It's kind of a primer to, okay, this is what people need to know in order to be truly healthy. So it's like an introduction, back then. And I also wrote a book on how to select the right supplements. There are so many toxic ingredients in supplements that I felt it was time that people understood what supplements to buy too. And that's another thing that I teach, and I've gone over in separate videos on this channel as well. Please explore this channel and like the heck out of it, and tap that notification bell so you don't miss, the videos that I'm producing every week for this. There's always something new to educate people on. I don't think I'll ever run out of anything. The body is that complex, and the world is constantly producing stuff that's bad for you. So I'm always on top of it, and I'm not going to stop now. So as consumers and customers, you don't need to support companies that are making you sick. You have all you need here on this channel and as an Institute member to counter that kind of misinformation and disinformation that you're constantly being inundated with out there. Okay, so again, if you want to join the Institute, you can just go to my website. I'm going to take you there right now. So here's my website, holisticchoices.com. And if you click on True Health Mastery Institute, you'll arrive at the description page of what all of the wonderful perks it means to be a member of the True Health Mastery Institute, and the knowledge that every week a person can accumulate and review anytime and just become your own nutritional health expert. You will know more than your medical doctor does. And in time, you will gather a lot of the information that even all nutritional advisors out there may not be researching and producing and passing on to you. So I don't know anyone else who is doing what I'm doing as far as getting this information out there to as many people as possible. So if you want to become a True Health Mastery Institute member, I describe the membership. You can join here. You just click on the Join Here button. It's $12.97 a month. It's very, very affordable considering what you get. You get information like what you received tonight on this call tonight. And you can read all about, the perks and the advantages. So some of the things that members enjoy, you're always going to stay highly informed. You're always going to get the correct information. There's not going to be incorrect information. It's always science-backed. And you're going to have me, someone who's been studying and researching for 45 years and applying and building nutritional healing protocols. When I had my practice for my clients, I was doing this way back then. And so when their results matched the science, that's when I knew I was onto something. I continued to help people improve their health that way, always evidence-based, always science-based. And the results were phenomenal. It's amazing to watch the human body do what it does when it's properly and completely nourished. So learning how your own body works and understanding it. You won't be at a PhD level. That takes years, but you will have enough information and the right nutritional system to succeed. The body will fix itself. Just nourish it completely and correctly, which is what I provide for you here. I answer members' questions all the time. They have health issues. I answer their health issues. There's nothing I haven't come across in the 45 years, and if I don't have the answer, I know exactly where to get the information quickly and efficiently and effectively for people. Now that I don't have my practice, I have the Institute, and that's where I can help more people to solve their issues, right? So yeah, these are the perks that you get as a member, especially the weekly live Q&As. So Friday night is the only night I can actually do this. I've tried it in other nights, but I have too many other, work commitments and deadlines that take my time away from this the rest of the week. So, and I know it's difficult for people on Friday nights, but do your best because your health is worth it. Rearrange your schedule if you can and be here and learn what it is, what it takes to have optimal health, vibrancy, and live your life in the highest elevated way that you ever dreamed possible. All right, so I guess that's it. Oh, if you have any questions on the same page, again, there's that join button, but you can just put your name and email address and send your question to me, and I will be glad to help you in any way I can. But I do encourage people to come visit every Friday night. It's free for guests, the first 2 visits. And after that, if you want to join, then you can certainly join us. I'd be happy to have you on board and happy to help you achieve your optimal health vibrancy. All righty. Thank you for being here, everyone. And I wish you all the optimal best health. And stick with me. You will get there. I have a very good record of helping people improve their health and to thrive. So when you stick to the science and the science matches results, then you've got something, right? Okay, so thank you so much for being here. And again, please like, share, subscribe, tap that notification bell, and help us grow this channel so that we can get this information out there. Of course, the YouTube channel is free, but if you want to join the Institute and get even more attention and more questions answered and more help, then please join the Institute. Okay, so again, there's 2 different things, right? The Institute is $12.97 a month, but this YouTube channel is free, and I post the videos that I provide to my members to the public as well. Of course, as a member, you get so much more information, but this is how it is now. And thank you again for being here. I will see you next time, and please take good care of yourselves. And I hope you thrive always.